In this way, we are literally mentally in front of the airplane, all right?
I'm Jason Miller, a full-time professional flight instructor. On the Finer Points channel, you can join me as I bring you tips and tricks that I've learned from 20 years on the flight line. All right, you guys, I am so thrilled to announce that this coming Friday we are starting to release the flight chapters into our instrument course in the Finer Points Ground School app. Now, what are the flight chapters, you might ask? This is where we actually pull it all together. We show you in the airplane how I would fly an approach, or how I would execute a hold, or how I would fly a point-to-point scenario. This is where I really feel like I can bring 2 decades of experience to bear and show you the finer points, the things you don't get in any ordinary ground school. This is the stuff that takes us above and beyond, and I'm going to show you an example here in this YouTube video so you can kind of see for yourself what kind of videos and study questions and material is laid out in the flight chapters. So let's do that in just a moment. You'll see me fly the RNAV approach to runway 30 at Half Moon Bay, all the way down to LPV minimums. But we are putting all this stuff into the Ground School app, not just on the instrument side, on the private side too, scenarios. If you haven't seen it, get a free 3-day trial. You can check out all the material in there, both courses, one price, written prep, oral prep, and all of this proficiency training that is contained in the flight chapters. So anyway, without any further ado, let's go fly this RNAV runway 30 approach into Half Moon Bay. This kind of material, this is what's hitting in our Ground School app Friday, so make sure you get your trial and check it out. All right, you guys, first thing we're gonna do when we're flying instruments here is slow down. You know, one of your 6 configurations is approach level. That's just level at 90 knots when you have like 2100 RPM. That's a good one. Just slow down. We're gonna work to get in front of the airplane. Nothing makes that easier than actually slowing the machine down. ATC's got us at 4,000 and on a heading of 120. Always from the right seat. I've got a little parallax here, but I'm doing my best to make sure that I'm flying heading 120 on the nose. So here we are. Now, the first thing we're going to do, we're being vectored, so we don't have a next event. Let's get the approach loaded into the GPS, though. We're going to do that through the procedure key. On this Garmin 750, once you select procedure, you can then select approach, and then you can go ahead and just put in the airport, Half Moon Bay. That's the one we want. We want the RNAV runway 30, the GPS approach, that's LPV, and we're going to load it and activate it from Jumda, all right? Let's see. Well, we'll just activate it where it is, and then we'll use the flight plan to go wherever we want, which is direct Jumda. Okay. There we go. That's the approach, and that gives us some idea of what to expect. I'm off my heading. Okay, back to heading 120, standard rate turn. We're approach level configuration, so we're just 90 knots, which helps us stay in front of the airplane. All right, so we've got our approach loaded in there. Let's go ahead and get the weather at Half Moon Bay. So we are going to just stay on this heading. We're being vectored, so now we're going to start to work on our A's. The first one is ATIS, or ASOS.
9 inches of mercury. Remarks?
Use caution for aerobatic activity west and southwest of the airport over the water between 1,500 and 6,000 feet. Noise abatement procedures and marine sanctuary overflight restrictions are in effect.
Okay, now join the tiptoe visual 28 left.
Half Moon Bay Airport. Automated weather observation 1622 Zulu. Wind 150 at 4 knots. Visibility 9er. Sky condition broken at 600. Temperature 13 Celsius. Dew point 13 Celsius. Altimeter 9 inches of mercury. Remarks?
Use caution for...
All right, and we've got those remarks. So remember, you don't put that altimeter setting in yet. It's 299er at the airport, but we're still talking to TRACON, so we're going to stay with whatever transponder code they have until we hear those magic words, you're cleared for the approach. So that's ATIS, altimeter. Let's...
Turn left heading 100.
Left 100, 5218 Foxtrot. Okay, standard rate turn left to 100. We'll use our inverted V. There we go. Nice standard rate. Everything's much easier here in your approach level configuration, 90 knots. There's 100. Almost went past that guy. All right, there it is. All right, so let's brief our approach. Now, to help myself hold heading 100, I'm going to be holding up my approach like this in a way that I can see it and also see the data that's critical. All right, so we're looking at the RNAV runway 30 approach at Half Moon Bay. It is a WAS approach. Let's verify that we have WAS on this GPS. You go into the system status here. You can see from this page GPS status, and then there's an SBAS, Space-Based Augmentation System. Hit that button and you can see we do have WAS. Okay, so we're good to go on the WAS. We should see this terminal mode, the linear scaling on our CDI here. The terminal should go to LPV before we cross the final approach fix. That'll be a second verification that we do in fact have WAS. All right, the touchdown zone elevation is 54 feet and the final approach course is 302, so it's to the northwest. Well, we already have our weather and we already have our TRACON, but the Unicom of 122.8 is in the backup so that when we get handed off to the Common Traffic Advisory frequency, we won't have to twist it in. All right, the approach course is pretty straightforward. We're picking it up at Jumda and it's a straight line from there on in. We step down from 3,800 at Jumda, 33 by Woolley, 2020, and then all the way down to our minimum, our decision altitude is 381 feet. So how low is 381? How long is 381? And which way, that is, if we have to get out of there in the mist, is straight ahead to 4,000. And we have a GPS course to follow. Will take us to Lakey and then out to Seams for the hold. All right, this approach has been briefed. So that is ATIS altimeter approach briefing avionics. Let's think about it like we missed something. We're shaking a tree. Where's that apple going to fall? Okay, so I got 122.8. That's my CTAF. I've got my approach loaded. I'm still waiting on my scaling. My transponder looks good. There's nothing I can do with radio 2. I'm shaking that tree, but I'm pretty sure my avionics are good. All right, so avionics, and then airplane is the last thing we'll do before we cross the final approach fix. Let's just review the before landing checklist. All right, we have things like lights, mixture. Our pitot heat should always be on IFR, so let's just keep that on the whole time, whether or not we're in the clouds. We do not want to try to remember when the...
You're clear direct to Jumda.
Direct Jumda, 528 Foxtrot. All right, so I'm just going to hit...
Foxtrot, you're 3 from Jumda, cross Jumda at 4,000, clear to RNAV, runway 30 at Half Moon Bay.
Okay, cross Jumda at 4,000, clear for the RNAV, runway 30, Half Moon Bay, 5218 Foxtrot. Okay, so because Jumda was already in there and I had already loaded the approach, all I had to do to go direct Jumda was hit the direct button again, and it remembers like what waypoint was in there. So we just hit deactivate. There we go. We're turning direct Jumda. We have been cleared. Now that's where I'll put in 29er. That's the altimeter, you know, at the airport. And we were told to cross Jumda 4,000, cleared for the approach. So now we have an event in front of us, right? And we can start to think in front of the airplane.
20 Foxtrot, on the go, contact me on this frequency.
On the go, we'll contact you on this frequency, 5218 Foxtrot. So when we get to Jumda, it's a left turn to 302. There is no time. The GPS should auto-twist. We are going to power back to descend 3,300 feet, and there is no talk. So when we get to Jumda, left to 302, down to 3,300. When we get to Jumda, left to 302, down to 3,300. In this way, we are literally mentally in front of the airplane, all right? We have our A's pretty much done. We've got one more A before the final approach fix. So really it's just a matter of keeping up with what's now and what's next and flying this approach. Now you guys, when you're in a situation like this where you've got a large turn, we're turning 90 degrees, unless it's a flyover waypoint, you are meant to lead those turns, okay? So like you don't have to actually cross, like if this were a VOR, you wouldn't have to actually cross it before you started the turn. And as a GPS, the same thing is true. You want to lead this turn just a little bit. Now every now and again, like on missed approaches, they'll have a flyover waypoint, and you'll know the difference because the icon will be circled.
1 Foxtrot, there is no traffic observed between you and Half Moon Bay. Change to advisory frequency is approved.
Okay, change to advisory, 5218 Foxtrot. All right, so I'm going to lead this turn a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and switch to advisory. I'll give them some, generic call. Again, I don't really think there's many people out there today, being that it's, you know, IFR down at the airport, but on most days there's VFR and IFR traffic out here. So let's first do our stuff here. So we're always going to talk last. We're going to aviate, navigate, communicate. So we made this turn. Let's execute the two things. So it's we're going to go right back to 1800 because we're already at 90 knots, and you guys know from your configurations that 1800 should get us 90 knots and 500 feet per minute. And I'm turning 302. Go back and get that needle there, 302. So it's left turn to 302, down to 3,300. We're in a turn, so I can't really check my compass to my heading indicator, but the pressure's good, temperature's good, vacuum's good. Amps are good, lights are where we want them. I'll enrich the mixture just a little bit and go ahead and run that checklist. I'm going to turn further than 302, by the way, also to get this needle. So I'm going to go maybe 290. I really want that back. I don't want to see that get any further toward the wall over there. All right, descent checklist, fuel, power, mixture, systems checklist is complete. All right, so now we have another event in front of us, which is Wooley. That's the final approach fix. So when we get to Wooley, there is no turn, there is no time, there is no twist. We will throttle down to 2020. There is no talk. So when we get to Wooley, really we just have to get the A's done, and we have to throttle down to 2020. All right, so again, we're mentally in front of the airplane. I think we were going to call Half Moon Bay, so let's just kind of figure out where we are. Wooley, I'm looking at the along track distance of my profile view here. Wooley appears to be about 3.4, 3.47, about 8 miles out, really. All right, so we're about 10 miles out here, ballparking it.
Half Moon Bay traffic, Skyhawk 5218 Foxtrot, 10 miles to the southeast, inbound on the RNAV runway 30 approach, 3,300 feet, Half Moon Bay.
All right, so I kind of give them a little bit of VFR information and IFR information, right? I tell them I'm 10 miles southeast of the airport, 3,300, that's for the VFR people. And then throw in that I'm on the RNAV runway 30 approach for the IFR people, just in case someone knows what that is. All right, again, we're thinking in front of the airplane. By the way, we're level here, so let's just run another flow check, because this will be a great chance to look at our turn coordinator, make sure there's no turn happening up there, set our heading indicator to our magnetic compass, pressure, temperature, vacuum, amps are all good, lights are where we want them, mixture's looking good, fuel's where we want it, and let's just go ahead and run that. Cruise checklist, power, mixture, systems, heading indicator, checklist complete. All right, you guys. We should be flying our approach level configuration here. We're thinking in front of the airplane, so when we get to Wooley, there is no turn, there is no time, there is no twist. We throttle down to 2020, and there is no talk. So I guess we're ready to run our last A, which is the before landing stuff. So carburetor heat, there isn't any gas. It's on the right tank, it's on both, undercarriage down, and welded mixture. We're just going to go full rich here. It's not something I would normally do this far out, but seeing that we're going to be so busy flying this instrument approach, and it's really easy to forget things like gear and mixture or whatever, I'm going to accept the last 6 minutes of this flight as something that might be a little on the rich side. All right, there's our glide path, and we know now, being that we're at 90 knots, we just power back to about 1800, pitch down so that we see 500 feet per minute on the VSI, and that should hold our glide path. Okay, that's our Wooley stuff. We did the last A. We started this descent. Let's go ahead and run a flow check. Okay, heading indicator looks good. Pressure, temperature, vacuum, amps, lights, mixture, fuel, all that stuff is good. Descent checklist, fuel, power, mixture, engine instruments, checklist complete. Remember that when you're quote flying needles like this or using needles for navigation, that it's super important that you control the airplane first and then measure the effect of that control on the needles themselves, right? So looks like our heading is fine. If I can just hold that heading, then looks like our vertical needle is holding our course. By the way, crossing the final approach fix, we had to see this LPV, okay? I didn't call it out. I should have called it out before the final approach fix, but if you don't see that, you do have to initiate a missed approach. Looks like 500 feet per minute and 90 knots is holding our vertical guidance, and it looks like the heading that we have set is holding our lateral guidance. Let's think ahead of the airplane for Mavic. Okay, when we get to Mavic, there is no turn, There is no time. There is no twist. We're going to throttle down all the way to the decision altitude, or just follow the glide path and verify that we're up 2020. And there is no talk. We'll just keep reporting to Half Moon Bay. Let's see how far out is Mavic. Is 3.4, is about 4 miles out.
Half Moon Bay traffic, Skyhawk 5218 Foxtrot, approximately 4 miles southeast, 2,400 descending, inbound on the RNAV, runway 30 approach, Half Moon Bay.
Cool. Now, something I haven't been talking about, which is, really cool about GPS flying, is this little, I call it the noodle, the thing that sticks out in front of your airplane. Different people, different companies or avionics manufacturers will call it different things, a precision path indicator or whatever. The idea is that's where your airplane is going to be in some prescribed amount of time, usually available in the settings, like in the next minute or next minute and a half, that's where my airplane's going to be. And when you're trying to figure out the heading that's going to hold your course, I mean, that noodle, it's kind of like cheating. I mean, all you really have to do is put the needle on the pink line and then note the heading and hold it, right? Because that is literally where your airplane's going to be. So really cool stuff when it comes to GPS. We've got this, these annunciators that show us that we're scaling more and more precisely as we get closer to the field. We've got little things like this precision path indicator or noodle or whatever it's called on the device you're using, showing you where the airplane is going to be, helping you figure out wind correction angles. Pretty cool stuff.
Half Moon Bay traffic, Skyhawk 5218 Foxtrot, approximately 2 miles southeast, 1,500, inbound RNAV 30 approach, Half Moon Bay.
Don't accept any amount under the glide path. You see that? You see how fast that recovered with pitch? That's part of the reason we consider, like when we think about this configuration, we think about pitching for vertical speed and powering for airspeed, is because of those immediate responses in pitch in a light airplane like this. Now, it might be different if you're flying something big and heavy, like, a DC-10 or something with a lot of inertia. You might think about that slightly differently. But for light airplane flying, that is the way to fly the glide path. All right, you guys, remember, we are ready for the mist. We know how low is 381, how long is 381, which way is straight ahead, 4,000. And then we just want to be like Johnny on the spot here, so we're going to call out altitudes every 100 feet as we go down. So we are 1,000 descending 381. We are 900 descending 381. 800 descending 381. 700 descending 381. 600 descending 381. 500 descending 381. 400, and there is the runway, my friends. That was perfect. All right, but look, we're going to go on missed approach here because we're practicing, but we could land. This is where I'd go power to idle and start to put my flaps in. There's plenty of runway down there to make all that work. So in any case,
Half Moon Bay traffic, Skyhawk 5218 Foxtrot is on the missed approach, RNAV runway 30 approach, Half Moon Bay.
So here we are in a climb. Now we transition to, it's kind of a cruise climb here. We're not going to go all the way to VY, but I'm holding my sight picture, doing my radial scan, and running my climb checklist. 300, there it is. Pressure, temperature, vacuum, amps, all looking good. Lights are where we want them. Power and mixture, and the climb, throttle, mixture, heading, systems, checklist complete.
NorCal departure, Skyhawk 5218 Foxtrot 1300, missed approach Half Moon Bay.
November 5218 Foxtrot, NorCal departure, ident, San Francisco, altimeter 2997.
2997, 5218 Foxtrot.
Number 18 Foxtrot, your radar contact 3 miles to the northwest of the Half Moon Bay Airport out of 1,400.
All right, aviators, that's all for this episode of the Finer Points. Make sure you get a free 3-day trial of the Ground School app. Those flight chapters will be coming starting this Friday, and then every Friday after that we'll be adding more and more content until we are satisfied that we have everything we want to show you in the app there. Also, remember there's a webinar coming up, a free webinar Tuesday the 21st. That's in just a few days. RH from the Opposing Bases podcast is going to share some of his experiences as both a pilot and a former air traffic controller. I can't wait to sit down and talk to RH again. If you haven't seen that, you can register free. Just hit the link in the description, and I hope that we see you there. Also, remember, leave a comment below if there's a video you'd like to see. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that little notifications bell. But most importantly, until I see you again, be safe, fly your best.